says you are live on YouTube.
Okay, so
We're live.
welcome everyone to our public that might be tuning in. We're live streaming electronically, so welcome to the public and all our presenters, our staff, and our council. We're going to begin our regular meeting of council, April the 20th, 21. And if we could just open our meeting by having a moment of silence, and if you could just reflect on anyone that you are aware of that's feeling sick, and we can have our moment of silence for anyone that we think that we would like to acknowledge. So please take a moment of silence, everyone. Okay, thank you, everyone. We're moving on. We've had no items moved forward that I know of. So we're going to go straight into our first motion. It was moved by Kieran Jennings and seconded by Jeff Carroll that the regular meeting of council agenda dated April the 20th, 2021 be approved as circulated. All in favor? And that is carried. Thank you. Now, I'll also remind all of council that if you have any disclosure of interest, you can declare it now or anytime during our meeting. We have another motion. It was moved by Ian Straight and seconded by Klaus Vandermeer that the minutes of the regular meeting of April the 6th, 2021 be approved as circulated. All in favor? And those minutes are carried. Thank you. Is there any business arising from those minutes? Seeing none, we're going to move on then. Our first delegation, we've got two tonight, and our first delegation is going to be from the Beek Road Association. And I believe that we have Mr. Kent Toivonen, who is president of the Beek Road Association, here to do our delegation. And Kent, you have 10 minutes if you need that long, but you have 10 minutes. And I'll possibly have to cut you off after the 10, but welcome to our meeting, and we appreciate you coming and doing this presentation. So Kent, I believe that you are on, and I will hand over the screen to you.
Okay, thank you. But I guarantee I won't take 10 minutes.
That's okay.
Our Beek Road Association, you probably got all the paperwork in front of you anyways, but we've been operating for about 9 years, and typically it takes us 2 years to collect money, $75 a year. We have the annual meeting in July normally. So after 2 years, we usually have enough money to do a major project like we just did last year for $2,500 that we did work on it. Our road still is, I don't think, up to par. The east end of the road still needs upgrading. We have a couple of places where there's quite a bit of water gathering, which obviously undermines the road. We would like to put in a culvert to drain the west end of the road. And that's why we're asking for the money, because just the normal maintenance and upgrading every year costs several thousand. We've spent thousands and thousands of dollars over the years. And most of our residents pay, a few don't, like anywhere else. But that's just the basics of it. And we want to keep the road in good shape, and I think we have reasonably done that. We also, wanted access for our emergency services, not only our residents. So that's why we put the application in. Obviously, we don't do any fundraising because it's a private road, and the homeowners pay for their access as much as they can. So anyways, that's about it. And if the Beek Road homeowners would really appreciate any assistance that the township can give us. I don't know how many people have been down our road, and over the past few years, we have really upgraded it, and I think we're getting there, but again, we could use some help. So that's it. Thank you very much. Appreciate for you hearing me.
Thank you, Kent. I'm going to be opening it up to council, but I will say, I think on behalf of Montague, or on behalf of our council, we do recognize what you've done, over the years. And we really have to remember that whoever does the work, the main reason why this work is done is to make the road not just better for the residents of Beek Road, but safer for our emergency service people. That's the main reason. So I admire you for doing it, and appreciate the work that the association does. And I just think it's a real big plus for everybody. So everybody is winning in this case, as far as I'm concerned. But I'm now going to open it up to council. And I did see Klaus, your hand was up.
Yes,
Yes,
Reeve, it was. Thank you, Reeve. Thank you for coming and presenting to us on the Beek Road, on behalf of Beek Road. You mentioned that some of the residents don't pay. How do you deal with that?
There's not a whole lot we can do. I mean, it's not an obligation legally for them to pay. Couple of places have been vacant for quite a while, so actually they weren't using it. Some have been bought now. We send emails out. We have a new treasurer, Catherine, and she's been contacting everybody. I think we're probably about 3 or 4 people that didn't contribute, and some people that are on a fixed income can't afford it. One person gave $50 because they're just on a fixed income, they cannot afford extras, which we try. And we've done other things. We put up speed limit signs and stuff to help. But basically, we have a meeting. We ask the people to contribute. I myself and a couple other neighbors on the street do a lot of our own work, spend our own time, and to try to keep it maintained well.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, Jeff.
Thanks, Kent. Definitely dealing with private roads on your own is a tricky process. I know I do it with my parents a lot too, as well, on other property, and it's and I know I had a bit of a conversation with, I think it was your wife back in the summer, a little bit about I don't think how townships can help with private roads. And I guess my big question is I brought up insurance, because that's kind of the hardest part, because there's liability when you take over the road and you have an association. And my biggest concern when I had that discussion was is to make sure that you're protected. And I'm just kind of curious, along with that sort of discussion, have you looked into making sure that you're legally protected? Because there's a big can of worms there when we bring legality into it too as well. So I'm just kind of curious.
Well, no, we haven't looked into that, because the association and the people on the road don't own the road. The road is in other people's names. It's part of other lots. So the west end is part of Ken Beek's property, and the other part is part of the Riverview campsite property. So actually, legally, we're supposed to ask if we can do anything on the road, and it's up to the people that have the deed to the property to say yes or no, which they have been good enough to not make an issue, and they've actually contributed also.
Yes, Jeff.
Just as a follow-up, do you know if they're insured then, as far as their portions of that road? I mean, the reason why I asked is that it's come across in my life, and And we were strongly advised when we had an association in the road and everything else, because if something were to happen on those roads, heaven forbid, and there's a lawsuit. I mean, I would hate for, and that's why I had that discussion last year with Bev, is that I hate for one of our residents to lose their home because of a lawsuit. So that's always been my biggest concern with a situation like this.
Well, as far as I understand, the road is private and it is used at your own risk, whether you're a resident or a visitor. So I don't even know if I could even get any insurance for, and if it's even required. I really haven't looked into it, so I really don't know.
Okay, thank you.
It's probably a good point and a good thing worthwhile just checking in as far as the association is concerned, Kent, just to find out, what may or may, what should or shouldn't happen there. So, any other questions? I'm also wondering there about the campsite and the people that live there. Like you say that there was some financial help. Like, does that come from the owner of the park, or do the individual park owners, do they ever help to do any fundraising there?
No, they don't. We've gotten some money from the park owners. Some of the park owners' property is on the water side of the road, so those properties use the road, and most of the other ones use the access off Rideau River Road.
Yes, thank you. That's why I asked, because I do know, and I've been on the road, several times. So, but the reason I asked is because certainly the people who are down by the waterfront, they're as much on the Beek Road as you are.
Yeah, that's true, but I mean, we can't go and strong arm anybody to get some money. It'd be nice if they paid, but
no,
yeah.
I understand. I just wanted to know if they did help out. So, thank you for that. So, any other questions then? Okay, I see no other questions, and so this. Thank you for presenting, Kent, and I'm sure the discussion will come back up, and you will hear, hopefully in due course, what decisions are made. So
okay.
Thank you very much for coming to do the presentation.
Okay, thank you for your time. Everybody have a good week.
Yeah, thank you. Now we're going to move on with our second delegation of the night, and we have Sandra Pirelli, who is the director of the Big Brothers Big Sisters. And Sandra, I think maybe this is the first time you've been presenting to us. So as usual, you have 10 minutes, and we appreciate you coming. We're already aware of all the great things that you do, but we appreciate an update. And I'm going to hand this part of the meeting over to you. So thank you, Sandra, for coming.
Thank you so much, Bill, for having me, and thank you to everybody for having me. I haven't met many of you, unfortunately, because I started with this role 6 weeks before the pandemic hit, and so we've been, doing what we do. We're continuing to do what we do, and so we did apply, as we always do every year, to the township for your grant for nonprofits, because we are continuing, as I said, doing what we've always done. So we are continuing our traditional matches, the one-on-one matches. Everything has pivoted to virtual, but as we can, and as our, especially our one-on-one matches in the community want to see each other or can, and or in some cases have chosen each other's bubbles to be in, that is ongoing. We have moved all of our in-school programs. So we have in-school programs and we have out-of-school programs, and all of the in-school programs have changed to some degree and are being offered online and are now sort of more mixed. Usually it would be a specific school attending a program, because obviously we are there. But right now our reach is countywide. And we are doing some really interesting work, having created even a resiliency training program for the youth in our county. So that's sort of a little bit of how we're pivoting and how we're doing things. That's the good news. Some of the bad news for Big Brothers Big Sisters over the course of this pandemic has been that 20% of our revenue comes from events. 10% from our social enterprise, that's our Jewel stores, our secondhand stores, and then 15% is third-party events. So that's a 45% chunk of our typical revenue stream that's been affected by this pandemic. And so we've had to get really creative, and we have, and I'm pleased to say that our Bowl for Kids online virtual was a success by all accounts. We set our goals to something quite reasonable, and we met the goals. And so we are continuing to continue on. We see the support in the community, and it's been fantastic. So I'm here tonight to just let you know that that we are doing that. And although we've had to streamline, we did have to reduce our staff base, but continue to work with the kids. We we are getting there slowly but surely. So I guess a couple of things that I wanted to mention is we look back on sort of what we do and why we do it, and what our national organization has said through their research is that for every dollar that we invest in mentoring anywhere in Canada, there's a $23 return to society. So what that means is that when we invest in mentoring type programs, we allow kids to return whatever it is that enriches their lives through to the community with a 23-to-1 ratio. So that's a statistic that we talk about a lot because it's quite fascinating. So what we're doing now, as I mentioned earlier, we are continuing to do some of the things that we used to do. However, we are introducing new things as well, including our online resiliency program for children and youth to sort of build some of the skills and some of the stop, think, and relax skills that come with being resilient. We are also now spearheading a youth focus group in order to research what some of the needs in our community actually are. You know, it occurred to us that for a time there, we were doing what we'd always done, and we realized times have changed. And so the question is, what is the need now? And so that is a program that we have begun, and the focus group participants have been selected, and we're well on our way to finding out exactly what it is that they need from us so that we can pivot as we need to. So, I mean, that is largely where we are at and what we're doing. So thank you for having me, like I said, this evening. And if you have any questions about where we are at, I would be happy to answer them.
Okay, thank you. I'll open it up to council. If there's any questions. I do see Jeff, please.
Just a quick comment, Sandra, thanks for coming in. It's great to hear some of the ways that you've pivoted and you've really tried to find different ways to fundraise and to help out those kids. I mean, I see firsthand working in schools what you guys do with the mentors that are coming in. So I mean, kudos to keeping it going, and hopefully after this COVID stuff, we'll see more of your people in our schools, which would be fantastic. So thank you very much.
Thank you, much appreciated. Some of those in-school relationships have actually moved to letter writing right now too, which is really interesting to see. Yeah.
Karen?
Question on the grant funding, where it says some types of grants have been introduced to support us. Others ask for new programming. So some of the stuff you're doing isn't classified as new programming to be able to be eligible for correct.
That's correct. So a lot of the COVID relief granting is based on the idea that because of the extenuating circumstances, the need therefore is changed. And so the question is what are you doing that's different to what you normally do that we should give you money for? So which is great, and we have done a lot of that, but in order to sustain our existing programming, that's where the townships come in, and that's where some of our historical donors have come in to help us to continue things like our traditional relationships and those pieces.
So just to follow up, so the fact that having to switch the way you did your traditional to meet COVID isn't qualifying either for the COVID funding?
Sometimes. So for instance, we received a fund to upgrade our technology because everybody had to work from home. So yes, that supports all of our typical traditional programming that we've done for years and years and years. But will somebody provide us, salaries, for example, to continue those programs? No, we have yet to see a fund, a COVID relief fund that is solely giving you operational costs.
Follow up again, but I thought there was funding out there to offset salaries from the government.
Oh yes. there is a subsidy, and we are absolutely tapping into that, the wage subsidy program, absolutely.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Karen?
Yep, thank you.
Yeah. So any other questions? Okay, seeing none, then Sandra, again, thank you very much. We'll be looking forward to having another discussion on this for you. And we'll get back to you in due course, as I said. So thanks a lot for coming. And I guess we'll be kind of, I'll say that we'll be looking forward to next year when we can have our live bowl-a-thon again, because I know our council, we've been involved in that for a few years, and it's just one chance for us to do something that's good for the community, but that's also to get out and have a little bit of fun. So, thanks for the organizational part of what you do for the bowl-a-thon, but we'll be certainly looking forward to it next year.
Thank you. So are we. I think it'll be a great big party.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Okay.
everybody. Good night.
Yeah. Thanks a lot, Sandra. So I've got two resolutions here from our two delegations. I'm going to read them, please. The first one is moved by Jeff Carroll and seconded by Karen Jennings, that council receive this presentation from the Beek Road Association for information. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. And also moved by Jeff Carroll and seconded by Karen Jennings, that council receive this presentation for information from the Big Brothers and Big Sisters. All in favor? That is carried again. Thank you. Now, moving on, before we open up our public meeting, I did want to say one thing that I forgot to mention at the beginning, but it was brought to my attention by one of our residents, but quite late to before it got on to the agenda. But I just want to acknowledge Volunteer Week. This is Volunteer Week. I'm not sure the exact dates of it, but as we know, a township cannot run by itself. And when we think about the number of volunteers that we have in Montague Township, it's amazing. And from our volunteer fire department to our recreation committee and all our other committees, we've got some very enthusiastic people now, and I think that we're all kind of looking forward to again, things loosening up with COVID and give those committees a chance to really do some things that they wish to do. So I just want to give a real big shout out for all of the volunteers in Montague and say thank you on behalf of our council and our staff. And again, we were able to do it a little bit differently this year, but again, I'll say next year we'll be looking forward again to having our staff appreciation night at Rosedale Hall and acknowledge everyone that way. But for now, I just want to again say that the volunteers are what makes it happen, and we really appreciate it. And so a big shout out to all of you. So thank you very much. And now we're going to go to our public meeting, and I have a little item that I have to read at every beginning of the public meetings. And then I'm going to be passing it over to our planner. But I'll just begin this by saying, talking about the purpose of the meeting first. And the purpose of this meeting is to consider a proposed zoning bylaw amendment under section 34 of the Planning Act. And this meeting is now open. And I'm Bill Dobson, the Reeve of Montague, and I will be chairing this meeting. The application being considered at this time is for property at 1292 Rosedale Road North. The proposal is to amend the zoning on the subject property to accommodate the redevelopment of the former school, that's the former Montague School, into an electronics testing and design facility. This meeting is your opportunity to provide any feedback on this proposal. And we encourage you to do so, as the Planning Act rules suggest that the public's ability to voice objections later in the process may be limited if they don't either sign in or speak up at the meeting. So it's very important to the public that if you, to sign in to make sure that we have the particulars, and that then you will be kept in the loop and be updated on any information or any other future meetings about this. So make sure that we get that information from you. I've just wanted to introduce the public meeting and open it up. And I'm now going to pass the meeting over to our planner, Carl Grenke, and he is going to report on the notification and summarize the application for us. And following that, we will then open up the floor to comments from those in attendance, and then discussion by council members. So, Carl, I appreciate you being here again with us. And I'm going to pass this part of the public meeting over to you. So thank you, Carl. And Carl is the planner for Montague Township. Thank you, Carl.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good evening, everyone. We do have a PowerPoint presentation. Christy, could you please load the presentation? Just as Reeve Dobson mentioned, I'm just to introduce myself to those who are watching at home. My name is Carl Grenke, the Township Planner, and I will be summarizing the application this evening. The applicant and the applicant's agent are also present here as well. So if council or anybody has questions about the proposal, they can certainly be directed through the chair to the applicant. So I'll just
Sorry, Carl, I'm just having some technical difficulties. I will have that for you in just a sec.
All right.
That work?
It does. Thank you. So this application is for 1292 Rosedale Road. Next slide, please. So we probably, that property is best known for being, for containing the former Montague Township School. So you can see it there. It's at the corner of Rosedale Road North and Roger Stevens Road. It's in a fairly central location on the township, and the property is accessed directly off of the off the township Rosedale Road at that point, even though it is an intersection road. Next slide, please. So in this case, the school has closed, and the property has been sold and resold, and now we have an application from the incoming owners of the property to rezone the property to accommodate an electronics design consulting firm that specializes in electronics design and testing. So the lot is currently zoned institutional, and the institutional zone allows a variety of non-commercial uses, such as a school, a church, a fire station, a community center. It does not accommodate commercial or industrial development. So in this case, to accommodate this, the new business, the property would need to be rezoned. So the proposal includes, proposed development include office space, research and development, and product testing. They're not proposing an expansion to the building. They are planning on redeveloping the inside of the building. So the application has been deemed complete by staff and processed. So the official plan designates this property and the surrounding areas as rural, and the rural designation accommodates a variety of development so long as it fits within the rural character of the municipality. Next slide, please. So zooming in a little bit here, what's being proposed is a site-specific zone that applies just to this individual property. So the proposal is to rezone from institutional to to a light industrial with a special exception, and the special exception, as proposed by the applicants here, is seeking to limit the uses to an industrial facility, which it's a very broad definition in the zoning bylaw, but best fits certain characteristics of this particular proposed operation: a warehouse and a business office. So, if approved by council, that would be the limited uses on the site. Next slide, please. So as you can see, the property, it's a fairly sizable lot, about 3 acres in size. The school building is there, proposed to be redeveloped. There is, of course, the double entrance to the lot from Rosedale Road, which is a paved township-owned road. The septic system and former play areas are to the rear, facing along Roger Stevens. Next slide, please. So at this point, the township has a proposal to change the land use rules for this area of land. So before council can consider approving it, then it's a critical part of the planning process to involve neighbors and any other applicable agencies involved in who have an interest to come out and ask questions, provide feedback, and really give council the best opportunity to make their decision on the proposal. It's also an opportunity for the applicants to present their proposal and certainly ask questions that council or the public may have. And I appreciate the applicants being here this evening to do that. So comments and feedback and discussion will be considered by staff in the recommendation, which will be presented at the next available opportunity, and council will make a decision. So I'll reiterate, there's no decision being made on this application tonight, no staff recommendation. At this point, we're here to learn about the proposal and exchange information, and issues raised here are going to come forward later for discussion. Next slide, please. So the Planning Act spells out our consultation requirements when we're considering a zoning application, and that involves giving a minimum 20 days notice for neighbors within 400 feet of the property, applicable public agencies, and also posting the notice on site. And it gives an opportunity for written or verbal submissions to council prior to a decision being made. So I don't believe we have public feedback supplied in writing at this point. However, if you're watching at home and do want to provide that feedback, you have the opportunity to, after tonight as well, the decision that will be provided to council. So when we receive a zoning application, the decision must comply with the township's planning policies. So as I mentioned earlier, the official plan designates this property for rural land uses. The rural designation includes a variety of evaluation criteria for when we consider industrial development in that area. The official plan also contains some evaluation criteria, especially relating to land use compatibility when looking at an industrial type use situated next to a residential type use. That's very very important to be considered here, and certainly the applicant's agent has investigated that in detail, and that will be discussed in our future report to council. And ultimately, neighbors, the public, they are the local experts in the township and have feedback that's important for all of us to consider. We also consider feedback from other agencies who have their own legislative mandates and technical expertise. And all of that feeds into a recommendation that's made by staff, and ultimately council makes the decision based on all the information provided. Next slide, please. So at this point, we're going to go into the public part of the public meeting, and council and staff will review any feedback that is received, and a report and a recommendation will be brought forward the next available opportunity. Council is the decision maker on the zoning application, and that decision is subject to a 20-day appeal period. I'll also note that if the zoning is approved by council, before development can occur, a redevelopment from an institutional type use to an industrial type use would be subject to site plan control, and that's where we would have a more detailed technical analysis of design, of landscaping, grading, drainage, lighting, some of the more granular aspects of the development to really fit it, to really best fit it within its characteristic. But at this point, council's being asked to approve the use, and that's the first step in the planning process. So I'll turn it back to Reeve Dobson now to continue with the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Carl. Thank you. And now we will invite any comments or submissions regarding this application from members of the public. And when speaking, please be advised that the comments provided do form part of the public record. And as such, we ask that you please state your name and your address. And all comments should be addressed through myself, the chair. And you may also submit comments in writing prior to council's decision on the proposed zoning bylaw. And as Carl just said, there's no decision being made tonight. So there's still lots of time after the meeting to make sure to get any comments in writing if you wish. So council will now, will first hear from the members of the public who wish to speak to this application. And then after that, I'll go to the applicants for any concluding remarks that you may have. And then following that, we will entertain questions from the council. So first I'm going to go to, I'm going to ask you, I guess, either Christy or Joanna, if we do have any questions from the public regarding this or comments.
I have not received any to date.
And would Christy have any, like?
I also don't have any questions.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so then now I'm going to go to the proponents or the applicants for any of your concluding remarks. So I'll turn this over to the applicants. If you're with us, please.
Yes, good evening, Reeve Dobson. It's Tracy Zander from Zander Plan. Can you hear
Tracy.
me? Hi. Good evening, everyone. Nice to see you all. I'm Tracy Zander from Zander Plan in Perth. For those that don't know me, I've been working with Ahmed and his team that is has a conditional offer to buy this property for a couple of months now. And so we prepared the planning report and worked with Ahmed and his team to prepare the other information and the submission. I think this is a terrific reuse of this property and this building. We've all driven past this building for quite a while and it's been vacant. So I think it's a great opportunity for a reuse and to bring a small business into your community. Ahmed can speak a bit more, but I think we're anticipating 20 to 25 jobs once the facility gets operating. As Carl said, it's a production facility, testing facility for electronic components. So when we looked at the appropriate zoning and the uses for this property, the light industrial zone kind of made the most sense. And so the three uses that we scoped this to, as indicated in Carl's report, business office, because of course this operation will have an office space, and warehouse for the storage of the materials. The third component was a little tricky. So we took the term industrial facility from your zoning bylaw. And as Carl said, that's quite a broad definition. If you just give me a moment, I'll read it. It's brief. Industrial facility in your zoning bylaw says an establishment not otherwise defined in the bylaw that is primarily engaged in the assembly, fabrication, manufacturing, processing, treatment, recycling, or packaging of articles, components, materials, or products. It's a pretty huge definition. Rather than creating something new, that is what we've requested in the application. But I'm going to say on behalf of my client, I think we're quite prepared to scope that a bit because that definition, should you approve that, could allow a pretty wide range of industrial activity here, even light industrial activity. So we might want to work with your staff to just kind of scope that a bit, because some of those things in that list are not intended for this business. And I think if we kind of focus that a little bit more, there would be a little bit more comfort perhaps from council and from the residents nearby that there's not going to be a large kind of industrial facility going into this building. So otherwise, I think it's a very appropriate business. The site is well suited, and the building is well suited to meet the business needs. There's lots of parking space there. The services are there. The business would be entirely inside the building. So we're not talking about outdoor storage or noise impacts or any kind of non-compatible impacts from this proposed business. So I think it's a very good reuse of the property and the building. I'm happy to answer questions, and my client Ahmed is also here if you have any specific questions of him. Thank you.
Tracy, can you tell us if there's going to be any recycling or dismantling of electronics?
Perhaps I'll let Ahmed speak specifically, if that's okay, Mr. Chair.
Sure.
He can tell
Hi,
you exactly
Ahmed.
what they intend.
Thanks for coming. Thanks for being with us.
He's muted.
Oh, you're muted. Yeah, you're muted, Ahmed. You're muted still?
I'm so sorry. Can you hear
That's
me
okay.
now? Okay.
Yes, we can.
Thanks for having me tonight. To your question, Bill, no, we don't really have any recycling. We are a design firm. So companies from the States, they provide us with some products to qualify their electronics and to qualify a product. Such a thing, once we finish our qualification, we ship it back again to the States or to another Canadian firm, but we do not really recycle, no.
Thank you. So any other further questions? Jeff?
Thanks for coming in. I think this is sounds like a very cool opportunity for a township for sure. And I do commend you for even suggesting to kind of narrow the scope down so it makes it easy for the industrial side. So that's very neat. The one big question I have is the big difference obviously between Montague and Canada is our internet capabilities. And I'm just kind of curious, like a firm like yourself is going to require a decent internet connectivity. And I'm just curious of sort of the plan of making sure that that's able to be done there.
Excellent question, Jeff. We got actually a DSL line from Bell Canada, and it guarantees 50 megabit per second for us. That's splendid for my team. And our server is running actually in Toronto. We have another office in Toronto, and that's actually the main communication hub for us. So the facility in Smithville, as per Tracy's statement, we are planning to actually utilize the local resources there in order to operate us from the engineering perspective and the testing part. However, a good chunk of the design and file exchange is going to happen in the Toronto facility. So this will not really get us by any chance.
Thank you.
Karen?
Sorry, I just wanted to clarify. I thought I heard Tracy say that this property is just in purchase, so this isn't the current owner. So this is going to be the new owner that's put an application through?
Through you, Mr. Chair, Ahmed is the purchaser of the property. So the current owner signed the authorization to allow him and his company to file this application, and I act as the agent. So I guess assuming the zoning gets approved by the township, Ahmed can speak, but I assume they would then close their purchase and proceed to bring their business to your township.
You are absolutely right, Tracy. Thank you.
Good to hear. Thank you.
I think, Ian, do you have your hand up?
Yeah,
Yes,
thank
Ian.
you, Reeve. Ahmed, it's great to hear that you're looking at repurposing the building, and it's great to hear that you're coming to the township of Montague and that you're bringing 25 jobs. That's great news. It's great news for our community, and hope everything works out well for you.
I love it, and I'm going to tell you, we didn't even start yet. We are just trying to restore this abandoned building. And until now, we have been working with the local to restore the building from inside. I will not touch anything outside. We'll keep the landscape exactly the same it is right now. We're going to enrich the look of the building, and we're going to work internally just to reconstruct anything that got damaged over the course of time. But there is no restructuring, nothing will happen, not inside and not outside.
Okay, thanks, Claus.
Thanks, Reeve. Ahmed, I think this is great. As the other counselor said, I echo their thoughts also. It's good for the township, and I welcome you to the township. Just a quick question. I'm sure you've looked at the building and walked around the outside and so forth. What are your plans with that massive septic tank system?
I still, I'm gonna probably need some help from the team to really advise me on that, but we do not have any real need for the water sewage or this side. We will not really plan to change anything outside unless there is a demand from the city to do such a thing. Our use really of this building, it's like an office space. So think about it as if we have about 7 different big offices. 2 of them will be running as a lab, and the rest of the stuff is going to be just staff sitting, working there in their cubicles. That's really the prime use case.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
So I don't see any other questions yet. So Ahmed, do you have any other comments that you'd like to make before we finish up here?
I appreciate everybody's effort on this from the bottom of my heart. Thank you.
Well, I think you're probably going to find out that we're going to be very receptive and very positive to your request, and very excited. And we really look forward to meeting you in person and actually working with you and seeing your business grow there. You know, and as a couple of the councillors have said, the best part is that we're repurposing a building that has had lots of history in the past. So thank you for everything. And as I said, I think you're going to be very happy with our response. So thank you.
I love the city and I love the building, and I will keep everything in a good shape. That's my promise to the general public and you guys.
Thank you. Okay, and Tracy, any last comments?
No, that's great. Thank you for your time, everyone.
Okay, so we've had our meeting, our questions and comments from council, and I'll just ask a second time to make sure that there's any other questions from the public. No other questions from the public, Joanna, that you see?
I'm just checking here. Back. Nope, nothing additional here.
Okay, thank you. So then we've heard from the applicants for any closing remarks that they've had. And thank you for that. And I'm now going to ask if there's any other further questions from council members. I did not see any further hands up, so I don't believe there are. And so just in closing then, I'm going to say thank you to Tracy and Mabed for coming and giving us this update, and also Carl for your work. This matter will be considered at the next available committee of the whole meeting. And as it's been already said, anyone wishing further notice and/or notice of the decision regarding this proposal is asked to leave their full name and address with the staff, you know, before you leave the meeting, or if not, you can do it tomorrow by calling the office. And under the Planning Act, any person or body who is not satisfied with the decision of council may appeal council's decision to the new local planning appeals tribunal. And the last day for filing an appeal will be outlined in the notice of decision. Council will consider all information presented before reaching a decision. That includes all the information that we've heard tonight, that we've heard from Carl and Tracy, and any other comments that may come in from the public. So we will be considering all of the comments before any decision is made. So seeing no other further hands up, thank you for everyone for doing this, and for coming and presenting this to us. We look forward to following it up. And I am now going to adjourn this part of the meeting regarding this application. So thank you, everyone. So I'm going to adjourn this meeting.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Thanks, Med. Okay, so we're going to move on here. I do have a motion. It was moved by Klaus Vandermeer and seconded by Ian Straight. that council receive the following report: the planner Carl Grinke report of 1292 Rosedale Road public meeting, and that the following be approved: that council receive the comments on the zoning application. All in favor? That is carried. And so thank you, Carl. Is Carl, you still with us? Yeah, I just want to make sure, Carl, you didn't want to make any further remarks before we're finished with this?
Well, I think I appreciate everybody's feedback, and certainly I'd like to express my appreciation for the work that the applicants have put into the application. And as Tracy suggested, I'll touch base with her, and we'll take a look at scoping the wording of the zoning. Certainly, while there was no public participation in this meeting, certainly we as staff we work with everybody to ensure that these interests are considered, and we'll report back to council when we're ready with the recommendation.
Okay, thanks a lot then, Carl, for this work. I'm going to then now move on to our reports of the municipal officers. And the first one is 4A. That's the PSAB budget report 2021. And that's going to be given to us by our treasurer, Andrew Hodge. So Andrew, welcome tonight. And I'll pass this over to you.
Thank you. So this report this evening is for the PSAB reconciliation for the 2021 budget. And this is something we do each year. It's a requirement of the Ontario Regulation 284/09. So it's an annual routine requirement, and it becomes part of our budget cycle. And so there was the introduction of the requirement to report on tangible capital assets that started in 2009. So this flows from that. And probably the key part of this is that when we do a budget process, it excludes amortization, which would, in our estimate for 2021, represent $514,774. But we do include our tangible capital asset acquisitions, which this year we've budgeted $1,432,800 for. So this report has no direct financial impact, and it's just here so we can acknowledge that we prepared our budget through our process using the cash basis versus an accrual basis. And this will allow us to meet the requirements, like I said, of OREG 284/09. And it reflects what we have done in our budget meetings for 2021 and the decisions that we've made for 2021. And the reconciliation is attached as Appendix A to this report.
Any questions from council? Seeing none, I do have a motion here, which is moved by Jeff Carroll and seconded by Karen Jennings. The council receive the PSAB budget report 2021 report, and that the following be approved: that council adopt the report for expenses excluded from the 2021 budget outlined in this report as a requirement of Ontario Regulation 284/09. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. And Carl, you're going to be, sorry, Andrew, you're going to be back up again. And that's on the budget to actual report. So thank you, Andrew, for this one.
Thank you. So yes, the next report is for information as well. It's the budget to actual as at March 31st, 2021. And the recommendation is that you receive this report for information. The background is that this is attachments of the statements of operations to March 31st, 2021. And so it includes January, February, March. And we're seeing what we expected for the first 3 months of this year. And we are right now positioned to continue according to the 2021 budget plans in Q2. So I've attached the statements of revenues and expenses to March 31st, 2020, this report. And I guess just as key points, I would say that as long as we continue to follow our budget and we avoid any ad hoc spending as best as we can and follow our plan. And if we have any new concerns, we place them on the discussions for next year for 2022. And we'll just also continue to monitor the economy, which is kind of fragile right now, and make sure there's no sudden downturns and that we can react if there are. So, so far, I think things are going as we anticipated for the first quarter.
Thank you, Andrew. Any questions from council? Karen?
I just have one, and I mean, it's early in the year, but under our recreation, we did a transfer from development charges reserve. What do we use that to offset? Curious. What was our thought originally?
So each year, we usually, let's go to that page. For this year, we're using the tail end of our development charges in that silo that we have allocated. And typically, we apply it towards cost sharing with Smiths Falls.
Perfect, thank you.
But we have less of this year.
Okay, seeing no further questions, I have a motion here moved by Ian Straight, second by Klaus Vandermeer, that the council receive the budget to actual report 2021 report, and that the following be approved, that council receive this report for information. All in favor? And that is carried. Thank you. Thank you, Andrew, for this one.
Thanks very much.
Andrew.
Moving
Good job,
forward.
Andrew.
Yeah, I guess that's all we have for you there, Andrew. So thank you. Now we're going to make Steve work. And this is our Public Works Manager, Steve Rothwell. And this one is going to be on our salt tender. So Steve, I'll give it over to you.
Thank you, Reeve. Yeah, so I brought this to committee of the whole last meeting, and it's the recommendation is that council direct staff to award the supply and delivery of bulk course highway salt and Cargill salt road safety for $95.81 per metric ton, which is roughly a $10 decrease than the previous tender. It was tendered by Lanark County on behalf of the local municipalities. 2 bids were received, and obviously, as stated in the report, 95.81 is the low bid, with an increase over years 2 and 3 as inflated by CPI. And that's basically the report with the recommendation attached.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? I don't see any questions. I'll just make a comment. I think it's really great that that we had at least 2 companies distributing salt now, because I remember a few years ago, the problem was that there was only one company. So we really had no place to turn. So it's really great to see a little bit of competition here, and hence possibly the saving. So thank you for this. Okay, I see no questions. So I have a motion. It was moved by Jeff Carroll and second by Kieran Jennings, that council receive the salt tender report, and that the following be approved, that council direct staff to award supply and delivery of bulk course highway salt to Cargill Salt Road Safety for 95.81 per ton. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. And moving on to the next one is also yours, Stephen, and that's on the roadside cutting.
Reeve?
Oh, I'm sorry, Ian, yes?
Yeah, I have to declare a conflict of interest regarding this matter.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Reeve.
Okay.
So the recommendation by staff for roadside mowing is to council direct staff to award a 1-year contract extension to Lewis Farms for the 2021 season. Last 2 weeks ago, for committee of the whole, brought forward a report basically outlining the different options for roadside mowing. We did have 1 or 2 bids, with one being competitive in 2018. And staff's recommendation, obviously, to award an extension for 1 year at the stated price by Lewis Farms, which would honor their 2020 price. As for the financial implications, it's be the same price as completed last year with an addition of 250 per cut if council would like more than the one additional cut they requested at a previous meeting. And that's the roadside mowing report.
So does that mean that the if we decide, I guess, depending on the weather and so on, that the 22 acres needs another cut, do we just come to you approximately at the time, and then they would come and do it for an extra $250? We don't have to make
That's
that
correct.
decision now, do we?
Nope, not right now, Reeve. If we would
Okay.
like 5 extra cuts, it's just 250 per cut. For
Okay, so I'm going to go to Jeff and then to Claus.
Steve almost answered my question, because if we wanted to get because when I'm looking at the budget, it looked to me that we get 1 cut right now under that budget. If we wanted an
That's right.
extra 2 or 3 cuts, it would still keep us under our budget too as well, right? At the end of the day. Because we're like $1,000 below budget. So if we did throw an extra 2 or 3 cuts in there and we're able to use it this summer for something or whatever, that would be possible, I guess.
Okay, Claus?
Yes, thanks, Ruth. Steve, in regards to the extra cut, the 250, I think it's a great price, to be honest with you, for 22 acres. And I guess I throw it out to maybe my fellow councilors. Is it necessary for Stephen to come back to us, or can we not leave it up to the Public Works Manager discretion that it needs to be done? Just throw it out there for comments. Personally, I think the Public Works Manager should just be able to make that decision on his own, because as Councillor Carroll said, it still stays within our budget.
I agree.
Question.
Karen?
So the roadside mowing, is that where the 22 acres gets cut into? It doesn't have its own budget, correct?
No, it does not.
So any further questions? I don't want to leave that comment that you made, Claus. I don't want to leave it kind of hanging. So do we have consensus that we can leave that decision up to our Public Works Manager, or do we want to look at that a month or two going into the season? So I'll just open it up to council. I didn't want to leave it hanging. I just wanted to make sure that we understand which direction we should go in. So council, I'll see if you have any consensus here. So Jeff first.
Yeah, I think it's great. I mean, we might give it, we might give a direction to say like, hey, we might use this next week and we got it cut. But yeah, like if it's starting to look shaggy, I think it'd be great if we just went and did it. And I don't think he needs council approval for something of this small monetary value. So.
Okay, I do think that we have consensus, but I've heard from you and Claus, so I'll just ask Ian and Karen.
Well, Ian's not available.
You can't, yeah.
Oh yeah, sorry. Karen.
Sorry.
I'm okay with the extra under Steve's recommendation.
Yeah. Okay, so that we'll just leave that as staff direction then, that it'll be your call there, Stephen, okay, for the extra cut. Okay, thank you. Then I have a motion moved by Jeff Carroll and seconded by Kieran Jennings that the council receive the following report, that is the roadside cutting extension, and that the following be approved, that council direct staff to award a 1-year mowing extension to Lewis Farms for the 2021 season. All in favor? And that is carried. Thank you. And can we notify Ian that we're finished and ready for him to come back?
Yeah, I let him know.
Thank you. Moving on to the next one is also yours, Stephen, and that is the gravel tender award.
Thank you, Reeve. Yeah, so this is for the award of the gravel tender 2021 PW02, and it's to direct staff to award gravel tender to Campbell's Trucking for a 2-year term, including an additional option for 2 1-year terms at a year one costing of $273,082.63, including non-recoverable HST. As stated in the committee of the whole report brought forward April 6th, it was tendered as in accordance with our procurement policy over 20 days. 6 companies obtained. We received 3 bids, with 2 being competitive. 2 of the bids between low and second place were within 2%. And Campbell's Trucking was the successful low bid, which is recommended by staff to proceed with them, as we have a great working relationship with them and they are a local contractor. And then in the financial implications, it is above budgeted price, but after we will be invoicing the City of Ottawa for completion of Montague Boundary, it will come in under budget. The second part of this is there was some gravel already placed on Montague Boundary, and in these areas we will use caution not to overdo the amount of gravel added to incur overage on that road.
Thank you, Stephen.
That's it.
Questions from council? Okay, seeing none, I have a motion moved by Klaus Vandermeer, second by Ian Straight. The council received the gravel tender award report and that the following be approved. The council directs staff to award gravel tender 2021 PWO2 to Campbell Trucking Limited for a 2-year term, including an option for an additional 2 one-year extensions for a 2021 costing of $273,082/63, including non-recoverable HST. All in favor? And that is carried. Thank you. Thank you for that one, Steve. So that's all of yours, Stephen. So I think that's it for now for you. So thanks for all of this great work. All these reports. Thanks, Stephen.
Thanks, Stephen. Nice, Stephen.
We're moving on then to the reports of the committees. And the first one is the American Library. And I think that everybody's got the minutes from March the 10th, 2021. Are there any questions regarding this report? There was nobody giving this report with us? No? Okay, so no questions and comments. I have a motion moved by Karen Jennings, seconded by Jeff Carroll, that the minutes of the Marrickville Library Board for March the 10th, 2021 be approved as circulated. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. The next committee of the adjustment minutes of April the 9th. Were there any questions on that, on this report, these minutes? If not, then this motion was moved by Karen Jennings, second by Ian Straight, that the minutes of the committee of the adjustment meeting of April the 9th, 2021 be approved as circulated. All in favor? That's carried. And the third report, the Police Services Board minutes. Any questions on those minutes? Seeing, yeah, Karen?
We don't normally see them, so it's good to see them.
Yeah. We haven't had any meetings.
That's a lot of meetings so that we're approving.
Yeah. Okay.
That's good.
Any questions? Okay, then I have a motion moved by Ian Straight and second by Klaus Vandermeer that the minutes of the Police Services Board meetings of 2019 to 21 be approved as circulated. All in favor? Thank you. Moving on, we have no petitions and no motions and notices of motion. The action item we have is the request from Andrews and Davy regarding garbage tags. So do we have any comments and questions about this action item? Klaus?
Yeah, I'm just curious, have we ever, I appreciate what the gentleman's doing. I think this is great. But have we not had people in the past doing somewhat the same thing? Seems to me someone on Carroll Road and you remind me, in our last term, wasn't there somebody that did a whole bunch of garbage pickup in Carroll Road?
There was.
And all we did was just kind of recognize the gentleman and say, thank you very much. So I find it hard not to turn this down, but I'm concerned, are we going to be setting a precedent here?
So if I can make a comment regarding these comments, I know a few years ago when we had Adopt a Road, anyone who wanted to help adopt a road or roads, we gave them complimentary garbage bags. And, you know, when we were very organized, even to the point of, if we knew that there were people going to be working on a road in a certain day, I remember one year, those people were allowed to be able to just fill the bags along the one road. And one of our public works people came up at the end of the road and picked all those bags up. But the main thing I just wanted to say was, in fact, in the past, we were able to supply the people with free garbage bags. And as I said, what we used to do it on a certain day where like several roads were being done. And in some cases, we were able to actually even give people, lend people a little orange bib to be able to use while they're walking along the road. In some cases, I remember, I'm not sure where they came from, but there were the little picks with the nails on the end. We were able to give those out to people to use. So, you know, I think this is a really good request. And let's face it, I don't think that anybody, I mean, this is an amazing thing that these people are doing, and others, because I've seen people walk up and down my road for the last month also picking up garbage. But I think it's a little much for us to ask them to be using their own garbage bags. But I guess I'll just throw this back out to council, because I don't have any motion on this. So, you know, whether we want to bring forward a motion or whether we want to let these people know that, yes, they could pick up bags or whatever, I'll just throw this back out to council. So, Claus?
Okay, I agree with you, Reeve. I think we should help them out, and maybe go back to that system we had. I don't remember, it must have been before my term on council. But what they're not asking for garbage bags, they're asking for garbage tags.
Yeah,
a little bit of a difference. So I would agree to say, okay, let's provide them with garbage bags, and they place them alongside the road, and we just run down the road with a truck and pick them up. Because I mean, I hate to say no to garbage tags, but we're in such a dilemma with this garbage tag business right now that are we going to muddy the waters on this thing?
Well,
So
the water just never got muddied before. I think there was a certain amount of trust where people were able to come in and say, listen, like, I'm going to be picking garbage, like, can we have a few extra garbage tags? So, Jeff?
Thanks. Yeah, I mean, kudos to these people for doing that, and the ones in our township. It's great. And the red tape, I find that we're almost trying to put onto this is too much. I think like it's we should make this easy, and I think staff can definitely make their discretion and give out tags or extra garbage bags for people to help out. I mean, for me, I'm like, give him a sheet of garbage tags. Clearly, he has pictures and he does it on Facebook. What a great job this person's doing. Let's just reward him and not make this hard and say, here's some tags, here's some extra garbage bags. And I mean, this is great. Does it set a precedence? I mean, I hope that, you know, the vast majority of people that would do that would look at seeing how great and what good things they can do. There might be somebody that's out there to scam, and you know what? If they want to have that on their head to do that, then so be it. But let's help this out, and I think staff can also like help that out too as well. If he picks up some bags of garbage and he calls the office and says, "I got a couple bags here. Can the guys come and pick them up here? I left them on this road and this side of the road." I'm sure our staff can swing out there over a day or two and pick up those bags and get them disposed of. But I mean, Joanna might be able to intake on that, but I think we should be able to make this relatively easy. If it just means giving some tags away, I mean, it cleans up our area. So I think it's fantastic.
Okay, we've got Joanne and then to Ian.
Sorry, I don't know if you want to delay a response on this or not, certainly up to you. But I just wanted to let you know, sort of in the background, I know our public works manager is working on a garbage pickup week that other municipalities are doing as well. So I don't honestly know an awful lot about it, but I know that it's sort of in the background being worked on, like a pitch-in cleanup week. So I imagine that it'll be coming forward to council shortly. I don't know if Steve actually just wants to weigh in on this now. I don't have a lot of details, but I know that that's going on in the background here as well to consider.
Yeah, I'm going to suggest that we, go along with Jeff's comments there and maybe give staff direction to, I'll ask for consensus in a minute, but give staff direction to be able to just pass out some complimentary either bags or tags if they're asked for by people picking up garbage on the roads. But that's just a comment on my part. But I'm going to first go to Ian and then to Claus.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly with Councillor Carroll on this. I don't think we need to make this any more complicated than what it needs to be. Great on these people that they're going out and doing that and cleaning up the roads and the ditches. And you know what, if they show up the staff or at the office and need some garbage bags and tags, away you go and keep up the great work. It's great to see. Hopefully from his Facebook post there, some other people join him and give him a hand.
Yeah. Claus?
Thanks, Reeve. Thank you, Joanna, for that additional information. If Steve is going to organize that type of thing, then I think that's great. That's perfect in order to make this project work. They set them out and we just go along and pick them up, provide them with the bags or whatever we need to do. So I'm all in favor of the program.
Now, obviously, if the people wanted to be able to keep the garbage bags at their house and put it out on the Friday or Monday, if we give them tags, I mean, if that happened, that's even better because you don't have the bags laying out on the road for a day or two or three where the birds are getting into it and that. So it would be better if the people wanted to bring it back to their place, I'm sure, rather than maybe it's staying out over a weekend, all weekend, and then the birds will be strewing it all over the place. So, Joanna?
Sorry, I was wondering if we could just hear from Steve really briefly, because I think we're going to get into if they bring it home, then they're going to have more than 2 bags. It could cause some issues. I just wanted you guys to hear a little bit more briefly from Steve about the week that he's maybe planning, if that's possible.
Hey, Steve, yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Joanna. So this week, it's kind of, we just had a discussion at our waste meeting with the local municipalities. I think if you see it on Facebook, I think Drummond and Lanark Highlands, a bunch of places like that, it's a pitch-in where they get specific bags that say pitch-in on the side, so you know it's 100% from roadside garbage pickup. They bring in the garbage bags and dispose of them for free. No tags or anything. It's more or less just you bring in a bag filled with garbage, which says it's pitch-in on the side of it. I'm working on information, just kind of got this last minute, but it's kind of fitting with the time. And I could definitely bring back more information, or we can just move forward with the tags, whichever you guys would like.
Karen, and then to Claus.
I'm all in favor of giving tags out to the people that are doing this and having them just put it on the tag on the bag at their location and having garbage pick it up versus having to send the guys over to get it and then us having to do whatever with it. I don't know the size of a dumpster that we've got or anything, but if, for example, we had a big cleanup and we had several bags throughout the township, I don't know whether they just take a run out to GIM or what they do, but whatever's going to make it simplest for our public works staff.
Okay, and I think, who was next? Was it Claus? Yes, Claus.
Yeah, thanks, Reeve. Steve, you mentioned in a pitch-in week, and I remember years ago, there were bags that were labeled pitch-in week. Are those still available?
Yeah, that's exactly what it would be.
Everybody's nodding yes. I thought they were. It'd be great if we could get those and if people want to pick those up from the township, because then that shows that we're doing this as a community-wide program. Okay, that's all.
Yeah, this pitch-in week originally, it originated with the Real Deal, I think.
Right.
The Rideau Environmental Action League, I think,
Yeah.
started the pitch-in week a few years ago. But can we then just leave this in the hands of with you, Stephen, then for now? And I also think that you've already got this to Stephen and Joanna. I think that you do have staff, you do have consensus on our part that if somebody comes in who's been picking garbage along the roads and they ask for some garbage tags, I think that you've heard it enough from enough of us that you have consensus that you would be more than willing on our part to give out those tags. If that, as a temporary basis until you get the other organized, Stephen. Is that okay, everybody?
Yep.
All right, thank you. And thanks to Andrews and Davey for doing this. Then we're going to move on. We have no information items to move forward and we have no unfinished business. So we are going to, one sec, please now. Joanna, I have a motion here. I don't see it on the agenda, but I do have a motion here that to approve the minutes of the committee of the whole meeting.
I was hoping someone would point that out. That's an error on my part. It was supposed to be under where we approved all those other minutes and it got
Okay.
missed. So if that's
Okay.
possible, it's not on the agenda, but I
Yeah.
guess make a motion to add it to the agenda and then approve it. Otherwise, I mean, I can just put it on the next council. It's not a big deal, but
Can I not just go ahead can we just not go ahead and just move this motion?
Yep.
Okay, so this motion was moved by Karen Jennings and seconded by Jeff Carroll, that the minutes of the committee of the whole meeting of April the 6th, 2021 be approved as circulated. All in favor? Sorry, I'm not seeing everybody's hands. All in favor? Okay, thank you. And is there any business arising from those minutes? Okay, seeing none. Then I also have a motion. It was moved by Ian Straight and seconded by Claus Vandermeer that council directs staff on a response to Andrews and Davey. All in favor? And that is carried. Now, I have a motion moved by Ian Straight and seconded by Claus Vandermeer that council recess at 7:24 p.m. All in favor? Okay, and then we're going to recess. I think what we can do is take maybe 2 minutes.
Question first.
Yes, Karen?
Questions from the audience?
Oh, I'm sorry, yes. Thank you. Thank you for reminding me, Karen. So, to Christy and to Joanna.
nothing at my end.
And I have nothing at my end.
Okay, so we will be recessing now, and what will take 2 minutes?
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay, okay, thanks. We'll take a couple minutes, everybody. Can you hear me, Joanna, now?
Yes, I
Hello?
can hear you. Yeah.
Okay, thanks. Okay, I think we're ready to start again. So Joanna, if you can just let us know when we go live again.
We are live.
We are live.
Okay. Okay, then we're going to open the committee meeting. So welcome everybody to the committee of the whole meeting, April the 20th. And also welcome to the public who are watching. This is live streamed electronically, so welcome to the public. And we'll go ahead and get started. We have a motion. It was moved by Karen Jennings and seconded by Jeff Carroll that the committee of the whole agenda dated April the 20th, 2021 be approved. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you. I also will remind council again that if you have any disclosure of interest, you can declare it now or anytime during the meeting. Claus?
Yes, Reeve, I'd like to declare a conflict of interest on item 3D.
3D, okay, thank you. Okay, then moving on. We have no delegations tonight. And we're going to go straight into our first report of the municipal officer. And that's going to be on the security policy, and that's going to be yours, Carl. So thank you for this, Carl.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Hello again, everyone. I'll keep this pretty brief. This report is a follow-up from a previous report back in January. Council will recall that that staff were directed to prepare a policy just to give us a consistent framework dealing with securities through site plan approvals. So this is something it is a housekeeping matter. It's not, the Planning Act allows municipalities to collect securities. It's already there. We don't need this policy to do that. And most municipalities I've circulated don't actually have specific written out policies, but they do have practices that they follow, including us. So this, to a large extent, it formalizes a practice that we've been putting into place when dealing with commercial and industrial development. But it essentially proposes to sort of codify and establish the collection of securities to cover matters that are important to ensure the overall development of the site, and the policies outlined to give staff some flexibility when it comes to releasing securities. So for a large development application, when we take a large amount of securities, it's not unusual to consider releasing some when some of the work has been done. So this policy, as drafted here, is essentially intended to formalize a good practice that's in place in a lot of municipalities. So it's the staff recommendation that we proceed with this. Thank you.
Okay, any questions? Seeing none, I have a motion that was moved by Ian Straight, second by Claude Vandermeer, that the site plan securities policy report by given, and that the following be recommended to council, that council directs staff to bring forward this policy for approval at the next available council meeting, sorry. All in favor? Okay, and that's carried. Thank you, Carl, for that one. Moving on.
Thanks, Carl.
Thanks, Carl. That's all for now, I guess. I think that's all that's
Carl.
yours.
Thank you. Have a great evening.
Okay.
Thanks.
Okay, moving on then, we have our second report here. That is on the roof information, and that's going to you, Steve.
It's actually on roadside weed spreading, I believe, Reeve.
Yeah, it's I guess, well, the motion here is kind of, it sort of involves both. But the road, we'll go to the spraying also. The roadside spraying.
Thanks, Reeve. So the recommendation by staff is that committee of the whole direct staff to place a award of 10 stated there for roadside spraying on the next council agenda for award. Larry kind of reached out to local municipalities early this year to complete a joint tender, which has been completed in years past. As stated, it was placed for tender on March 11th, closed 25th. And I did, in some research I did, we've done this tender with the county for numerous years. There was one bid received out of 4 plant takers, which was a price for Montague Township of $4,302. And staff in the budget is $5,000 for this, and it was for the 2020 budget. It was 4,800 was completed. To gain areas for this weed side spraying, I utilized a database that was completed by our students last year, and it detailed from mild or light to heavy roadside weeds. And as stated, the county has the product that they use. It's been used by the county for numerous years. And Uyghur and Kaput was the successful tender or low bid on this. And they've been used since 2016, as well as the city of Ottawa since 2007. The start date would be for May 25th for the whole tender. So this is Lanark County, and then they would have the municipalities and a completion of the 29th. It's important to note that any residents can obtain the sheet off of Montague Township website, and they can complete this, and it will kind of indicate that they do not want any roadside spraying near their property. And then staff will receive this and notify the roadside spraying. And that is the roadside spraying report.
Okay, thank you, Stephen, for this. I guess I have just a general question. It's not specifically to do with spraying, but I have brought this up before, and I'm wondering if you can give us any update, or if we're having any discussions at all on the general vegetation management plan. Like at the county level, since we started spraying, we've always had a vegetation management plan. So in that plan, it did not just include spraying. It included like the Adopt a Road program, where people could adopt a certain section of a certain road, and they would deal with the infestation themselves. It also included the county planting other plant species that would smother out the species that we're dealing with here. We did the spraying, but it was a plan that included many different aspects. So that's one thing I'd like to mention, to get a comment from you, if you don't mind, but also the fact that, we heard reports at the county level where our staff went out and actually looked to compared where they sprayed last year, and were able to tell us that there's a lot less, there's the same amount, there's more, there's whatever. So I'm just wondering, like here in Montague, are we only going to deal with spraying the weeds, or are we going to try to have some sort of a plan that would put together other ways to eradicate some of these species? I guess that comment or question is for you, Stephen.
That seems like that's a big one. I can definitely do some research into all of that, and definitely come back for information with a report. I don't have an answer right now for you. Sorry.
Yeah, and I'm sorry to bring it up, because I may not have brought it up since you've been with us. But I have, I think I'll leave it at that then, and maybe I'll leave this with Joanna's, in Joanna's hands and yours, because maybe at a future meeting, we could have a discussion, because it also ties in with our climate action plan. And the fact that we only seem to want to talk about spraying is a little bit upsetting for me, because generally speaking, I realize that we have to spray the weeds. And but I guess I'd rather see us have a more inclusive, integrated, what they called an integrated vegetation management plan. So I appreciate the work that you're doing on this, but I'd like to see if we as a council could expand on that, and then at least make some changes for another year. So I'll open up if there's any questions from council or comments. Claus?
Thanks, Reeve. Steve, when you talked to the county about joining in the spraying program, did they mention anything about this vegetation plan at all to you?
They haven't mentioned anything yet, but they're definitely open to discuss anything. So if I reach out, I believe it's Michelle Bala from the county.
Yeah, well, Michelle is in charge of this, so I'm surprised that they didn't do that. So I'd go right back to the county and say, hey, bring me up to date, will you?
Yeah, so I can absolutely, I'll talk to Michelle at some point here in the short term and try and get some information and bring it back to council for a report.
Okay, thanks, Stephen.
So any other comments? Okay, I have a motion. It was moved. I'm going to slightly change this, Joanna, because there's, I have a motion moved by Jeff Carroll and seconded by Karen Jennings that the committee of the whole received the following report. That is the spraying report. And that the following be recommended to council, that the committee of the whole direct staff to place award of tender PW-M-38 2021-21 EO roadside spraying on the next council agenda for award. All in favor? Thank you. Thank you for that, Stephen. And if you don't mind, if you get I realize it's a little time sensitive because of the way the weeds grow. But if you get any answers, if you don't mind bringing them back to us for maybe the next meeting, and it might possibly be a chance for the county to, at minimum, send us the integrated vegetative management plan so that we can look at it. Either that or come and do a short delegation explaining what that plan is like. So thank you for that. So moving on, we have the next one is, I guess the next one is at C, right? The RFQ for the custodian services, that's the next one?
It's the roof.
Oh, I'm sorry, it is the roof. Yeah, so this one is the roof. Yeah, because I think I had the two combined into one there, but this is a separate one then. Okay, so this one is also for you, Stephen. So thank you for this.
Thank you, Reeve. So I apologize in advance for the pictures. They're printed off. They probably appear to be a 12-12 pitches. They're actually a 6-12. Everything kind of got smushed there, so my apologies. But the recommendation by staff is direct staff to advise Greer Galloway to proceed with completing the design of option 2 of the 2 roof replacements provided. So as stated, Greer Galloway was successful in January for the design. Due to COVID, they took a while to get to site and actually get measurements. They completed measurements in late February, early March, and they got back to staff with the 2 design options. There was no costings or anything associated with these 2 different designs. The main thing was to have the little gables there on the end. It's the 2 big differences. So the main difference is obviously just curb appeal. It looks a little nicer. And then the pitches were designed a certain way for easy transportation to site as well. As well, in the 612 slope, there will be a bit of attic storage, which could be accessible for the fire department from the association room at some point. It'd be a kind of a crawl space kind of thing. And that's basically it. It's more or less for council to direct staff on which option they would like to proceed. And staff just recommends option 2, as it is a lot nicer looking with the transition there. And that's basically it for the report.
Karen?
Just unfortunately, I don't see much for differences when I look. The only thing I do see is the window that used to face the parking lot from the upstairs fire association. I don't see one in either of the plans to show it.
So from there, it would be with the peak. I believe it would. That's where the storage would be coming from.
So
the
they
front.
won't have a window from their room though? Because there
Sorry,
used to
from
be
the front, the parking lot that will be there. That's probably design error on.
Thank you. Just making sure on that one. Yeah, just from the parking lot. Yep.
Oz?
Yeah, no, thanks, Reeve. I had the same concern, was looking at the design pictures. The firemen lost all the windows.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to go to Ian and then Jeff.
I guess my question is for staff, is for Stephen and maybe even Joanna, is how close are we to having the review for the whole administration, all the buildings and everything?
Mm-hmm.
That's a question for me. I'm trying very hard. I just things keep coming in that keep being on fire, and so I'm dealing with other stuff. But I am very hopeful it will be shortly to get that report to you. I know I was aiming for March 30th, so I am behind the ball there. I'm just basically on the tail end of that. So hoping
yes, follow up.
Yeah, and that's fine. I'm just wondering. I guess the idea behind this roof is that it's going to go on top of the existing roof. Then, Stephen, is that correct?
That is correct.
So, as far as airflow and everything like that, to make it better for the staff, it's still going to be the same. We're kind of still in that same stagnant type of atmosphere. There's no real general improvement to the area, I think, than having more of an open concept or a cathedral type inside where it's a little bit more, I would call it maybe COVID friendly type of thing, where there's not the low hanging ceiling where we had all the issues in it and everything else before. So, okay.
Okay. Next, was that a question, Ian, or just a comment?
Yeah, it's just a comment. I'm just wondering, is this the right? I know we want to put a new roof on it and everything else like that. Do we feel that this is the right avenue? Should we be looking at something that's a little bit that opens the space up and facilitates new lighting and air exchanges and everything else like that?
Okay.
I mean, I guess if I may, Bill, the roof just a couple weeks ago there when we had those heavy rains, our treasurer's office was leaking again, so we had the bucket in place and it was collecting water. So I think, is it the, we sort of have to do it. We're at a point where it's an emergency repair on a roof and we have to make a choice. Are there other options? Could we do things better if there was time? Then we probably could. But I believe, we've applied for the FCM grant specifically for the roof and its repair because it is in a state of emergency sort of situation. So I completely respect and am behind you wholeheartedly on what you're saying. But at this point, I think we're kind of having to make a decision to do one or the other. It's not a great position to be in, but that's where we're at.
Hey, Jeff?
Yeah, I mean, thanks for this. We've been we've been talking about replacing the roof for, I think, almost 2 years now. And I think it's great that we're at this point now. I think option 2 is a great option. I'm in full support of that. And like it was just stated, we received the grant for the roof to do this. So it's great. So I would like that we can get this all done for under $100,000, which I think we should. That's what our grant money was for. So we really need to kind of get the ball rolling because we have roof leaks. And to get the contract in place, we all know what building materials and building time is going right now. We want to get the tender out for this sooner rather than later, in my opinion. So I think it's really staff has done a good job of getting to this point. Let's I'm going to say approve option 2, and let's get this going.
So I'm going to let Joanna respond to this, and then I'll go to you, Claus. Okay.
I just want to be really clear. We haven't formally received a grant. We have applied for one, and there's been some back and forth, but we haven't formally or officially received any monies yet.
Is this a follow-up, Jeff?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
Okay.
I thought we had unless we don't get the job done, we pretty well have the grant. That was my understanding from the paperwork. It's we have it. It's been approved. We just have to get our stuff in gear and done and have it done by the end of the year.
I believe my understanding from the treasurer is that we are waiting on final approval for the grant. We don't necessarily have it.
I do see a little a little note there that came in.
Yeah.
We have it.
I saw a little note that came in from Andrew.
Yeah.
It said it was signed now.
That's what he said. There's a news flash.
Yeah, it was just a little line on the top there from Andrew. It says from Andrew Hodge. Sorry, Andrew, can you put that up again just so I can read it?
I don't think he can.
He said we will move forward.
Yeah.
Did you see that, Joanna?
Yeah, I just saw that. So it looks like we have it. I'll have to clarify that with him in the morning.
The his chat says we have it signed now. We'll move forward.
Yep.
That's what I saw.
So are we all in favor of option 2? And let's.
Well, I have a motion to read it, Jeff.
Okay.
Now I did pass over you, Claus. So before I read this motion, I'll go back to you.
No, thanks, Ruth. I just want to echo Joanna's comment on the roof leak and so forth. And Thursday we're getting another pile of rain, so let's not go through one more roof leak. Let's get it done.
Well, it won't be done by Friday.
Yes.
It won't be done by Thursday.
No, get it done tomorrow before the rain starts.
Keep the pails out for now.
Yeah. No, we can't have any more leaking. It's got to get done. I approve option 2. Sorry.
Okay, so I have a motion here moved by Claus Vandermeer and seconded by Ian Straight that the committee of the whole receive the roof information report and that the following be recommended to council, that committee direct staff to advise Greer Galloway to proceed with completing the design of option 2 roof replacement provided. All in favor? Opposed? Okay, that's carried. Thank you. Jeff.
Just a follow up to this. Do we know, because we're approving the design stage and everything else, do we know the time frame of when we can get that back?
So, sorry, I've been working with Greer Galloway, and I'm going to call them as soon as I can to get this advised. And previously, when we were speaking with them, they were going to be back to us mid-April to early May. But this obviously was all delayed. So I'm hoping I will have a time frame for the next meeting, and I'll provide an update on kind of a timeline as soon as I know from them. I'm hoping it'll be completed by summer. That's kind of by the time they do all their structural work, get a tender out, and we have it for a procurement policy of the 20 days, and then have council and award. That's what I would be looking at right about now.
Yes, Jeff.
So you're saying completed for the summer, as in Galloway's design is done for the summer, or we're gonna? Because I mean, if we don't maybe I'm just being a little bit jumpy here, but if we don't get a tender out soon, my fear is we're in the same situation we fell into last year, where we do it. And that's my fear. I want to make anyway, that's
Their design should be pretty quick. It's a pretty basic design. It's nothing, it's not a Taj Mahal or anything. So I don't believe the next step should be very long, and they'll kind of give us a detailed package of what we need to submit. And for me to turn around, get our information into it and put a tender out would be kind of next day kind of thing. And then we just have the longest thing, we were waiting for those bids out for the 20 days. And hopefully, like I say, it's definitely possible.
very good. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, then that's it for now. We're going to move on to the next point, then. That's
Reeve,
yes.
better conflict of interest now.
Okay.
So I will leave the meeting. Joanna, you'll buzz me when you're ready, but be patient for me to try and get back on again.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, thank you, Claus. We're moving on then to 3D. That's the RFQ for custodian services results. And that's going to be yours, Joanna.
Okay, so as you know, we put out an RFQ for custodial services. We put them on our website or Facebook page and Bid and Go. They were accepted from March 18th until April 14th, so for nearly a month. We ended up that we had 12 packages picked up, and ultimately there were 3 quotes provided. They've been attached in your agenda. Ultimately, there was only one that was complete. The other 2 were actually missing only like very, very minor things, but nonetheless were deemed incomplete. The completed one was received from the company Cheeman Cleaning Services, which does work out of Kilden, Ontario, and they had a quoted cost of $54,240. We had asked as part of the quotation to include references for mid-sized offices that the providers had cleaned, and they noted, they cleaned the City of Oshawa, Canadian Blood Services, large, I mean, in our scale, large buildings. In their scale, it would, in the Toronto area, it would have been, probably medium-sized. But, given sort of what we had to work with, staff felt the cost was prohibitive, and maybe, having a company come in from the Toronto area might be a little difficult. So given that, we didn't really have any viable quotations provided. So I've listed 2 options. One, that consideration be given to review the potential to hire a part-time, either cleaning only or custodial, which is minor maintenance and cleaning. So we could look to just, actually hire someone part-time to do that. Or we can look to extend the current contract for a month, or however long it takes while we put out another RFQ. Ultimately, my recommendation is that we at least examine the possibility of looking at hiring a part-time staff, more than anything, so we can just review it and take a look if it's feasible. It may well not be, just given the costs associated with having an employee, but I think it's worth looking at if these are the kind of results we're going to get from RFQs. But ultimately, it's just also equally as easy to put out another RFQ and see what we get, see if the tenders, maybe some tenders are resubmitted with all the accurate information provided, and we go from there.
Joanna, just a question. If we decided to go ahead and do a review regarding the potential and the options and so on, would we then also be saying that we'll be just continuing with the status quo for now until we decide? Is that what you'd be suggesting, or what?
Yeah, I mean, I would be suggesting that. You could do 2 things. You could either sort of ask staff to clean all their own stuff when this contract comes to an end, which is the 30th, I believe. I don't know if staff would appreciate me saying that, but we could have that option, or we could just you know, if the current contract was willing to extend for a period of time, then we could do that as well.
Okay, so any comments, questions from council? Karen?
Just a couple of questions, but one is with reference to the Bidigo. I noticed that the document value was placed at $100,000. It says estimated contract award, but that's definitely not even close to what our budget was. Could that impact part of some of the quotes we would get because it's not really mid-size at that value? Also, to go with a custodial, as in cleaning staff, sorry, or a custodian, do we actually have the equipment, or is that something now the municipality must buy to provide? Because when you have a contract, normally they provide, you know, that sort of stuff.
Yeah, we would certainly have to provide the cleaning, the cleaning stuff for if we had a staff member. I will have to look into the bid and go item. I'm not entirely sure. Like Steve might have a comment there.
Steve?
So the way Bid and Go works, it's scaling a project. So this project would be based under 100,000. So that would be the pay range it's in. And then the next scale, I believe, is 100,000 to 250 and et cetera. So it's just kind of basing a project into a certain criteria is how that works.
So we can't get it lower to reflect the true value.
So it's bulked in with any project which is estimated under $100,000 when it's published.
I think what you're basically giving us here is, Joanna, is like we've got sort of two options here in front of us, but one recommendation, but still there's two options, right? Is that correct?
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. And you know, to be honest, I'm just looking at sort of what's happened, and I'm surmising that it probably wouldn't hurt at least to do to explore the options we have. And I may come back after exploring and say, like, this part-time thing is not the way to go. You know, let's put it out for an RFQ. So it may mean like further extensions of our contract, or you know, we could just go back and decide to put the RFQ out again, and that would be, you know, acceptable as well. Just, you know, given what we've got back, it doesn't seem super promising. But
okay, Jeff, and then Ian.
So real quick, like right now we have somebody that comes in a couple times a week for like an hour at a time or so is sort of the gist of it.
About 3 hours at a time, I understand.
Is it 3 hours at a time, twice a week?
Yes.
Is that written in the contract? Is that written in the?
The other thing is just to help answer your question, Jeff, because I did ask that. Quite actually more than a month ago. I asked the question, but other than the twice a week, approximately 3 hours at a time, I was told there are also certain times when, like at Christmas time, for instance, when the office is not being used, where all of the rugs have to be cleaned, and kind of all of the accessory things like, you know, the lighting, which holds, you know, where flies get into, plus heating vents and so on have to be cleaned. So there are a couple of times through the year where they actually bring in a crew and do all the rugs and so on. So there's not just the twice a week thing, Jeff. There's other times, and I think there's in the contract, I was told that there's also like a certain number of times, it's maybe only once, where everything has to be taken out or supposed to be taken out of the cupboards and washed and put back in. So it's not just the twice a week.
so if I may, I just have the contract here. It says the hours of work will be the number of hours needed to carry out the scope of work in this contract. So there's no specific time provided. my understanding, like I haven't been around to see this long enough. I have never actually seen a crew in the building or anything, but my understanding had been that it was an hour and a half, sort of 2 days a week, but that's just, that was my understanding of it, but I, can be corrected on that, obviously.
Yeah, I'm just passing on the information that I was told. So, Jeff?
Because I mean, to do what the hours that the job entails, it puts a lot of pressure on the staff to make sure that the job is done right. If there's not like a minimum time almost there, where it's like, the job needs to be done in this case, say our weekly schedules with a minimum of 2 hours of being there or whatever may be in that sense too as well, to make sure that the quality is done and everything else, and we're getting the value for the service. I think we have to go out and sort of tender it again, but I'm just wondering if we have things worded properly, like to say like what the hours might be. Like it might be like, it's 5 hours a week and then plus those extra cleanings, just so there's a good understanding, because maybe people are looking at it going, there's too many variables there, or I don't know how to bid on that, or anything else, because I would think that there's lots of janitorial companies out there that this would be an easy job for them, or an easy side job for them, and even like some of the smaller almost like residential cleaners could do the same thing. So I just, as long as we're maybe explaining it properly with what the time frame is and everything else, it might give us a little more success on the right the right bids, I guess.
Okay, I'm going to go to Ian.
I guess, Joanna, I kind of like what you're saying here. I think that we continue on and investigate both the options of hiring someone part-time, and you want to go ahead and repost the position. I'm fine with that. I kind of agree with what Councillor Carroll's saying right now, is that I think that there has to be, I guess I didn't realize that the current contract was open-ended essentially. If you spent 10 hours there a week, it was 10 hours and you got paid for 10 hours. That's a pretty loose contract, I guess, in my mind. And then there should be some definite criteria and built into how many hours you spend there a week. But I think that we continue to investigate the two options you brought forward, and see what give you an opportunity to look into supplies and what it is we might need and what the investment is for the township. And then maybe there is somebody that we can just hire, or whatever it might be at the end of the day. Or maybe another person picks up the tender once we, I'm going to call it, clarify the scope a little bit.
So in to go along with what you're saying, are you suggesting that if we go ahead and look into these options, would we continue the cleaning status quo while we're looking into this?
Well, we have to do something, obviously, with COVID and everything else that's going on. The place has to be kept clean and disinfected, and et cetera, et cetera. So we continue on doing what we're doing right at this present second, until Joanna comes up with has an opportunity to look at both the options that we're open and receptive to.
Yeah. Okay. Karen.
So curious, because the Bidigo seems to say that the lowest value you can put on there is the 50 to 100,000. Would we just then in turn put a notice out into the local EMC that would go to Kemptville, Perth, Carleton Place, Smith Falls, things like that, the regional area, where you have an opportunity to bring in some of the smaller contractors that might not use Bidigo, seeing as how this isn't a large contract, to say that we're looking for a custodial service and that the packages can be obtained by contacting the office type thing. I'm just wondering if part of that has to do with not getting smaller contractors in because of the fact that it went out that way. I don't know. But I mean, we're definitely a much smaller scale. I wouldn't even call this a medium-sized. But
yeah, and I guess to be fair, I was kind of trying to get this through. I was using sort of wording from a previous RFQ, but I mean, I can go back and really tighten things up for sure. It was take a little bit of time.
Okay, so I'm going to read this motion here, and if we'll see how we feel about it. It was moved by Karen Jennings and seconded by Jeff Carroll that the committee of the whole receive the following report, and that is the RFQ for custodian services report, and that the following be recommended to council. That council direct staff to review the potential and the options with respect to hiring a part-time cleaning or custodial staff member. I'm in favor of this. I'm just wondering if we should, do we need to put it in the motion, or do we just, like, I'm just wondering if we need to put in the motion that we will carry on status quo until we get this report. Should we
Sure.
just put that in the motion?
Sure.
Okay, so that's okay with Karen and Jeff?
Yeah.
You moved it and seconded. So
Yep.
then Joanna, can you just reword that, and I will I'll have to sign the new one when I get it from you then. Okay.
It's okay. I just have staff be directed to extend the existing contract until such time as a determination is made.
Yes, I think that's okay. Jeff?
Real quick, is it, I don't want to like cross any like sort of rules and all that kind of stuff. Like there's companies out there that can we literally pick up the phone and say like, hey, like the local companies that are around us that do this, and pick up the phone and call them and say, this is what we have, this is the job, this is what it is. Like, can you do this? Can you know what I mean? So like, and if we get it back out there, this is what anybody can see our budgets, I guess. What's that sort of line or that rule as far as reaching out to just those companies in the yellow pages and saying, like, if you didn't bid on this, we got this job for you, if we put it out there for bid.
I'll have to check the procedural bylaw to check exactly, not the procedural bylaw, the procurement bylaw, to see exactly when and where that applies, but it's certainly something I can look into and get that answer for you. Yeah.
So if we go back out this, I mean, like let's see if we can do that anyways, and at least we can give invites to those specific local companies.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else? Seeing no other hands, then all in favor of this motion? Okay, that's carried. And if you can let Claus know that he can come back into the meeting, please. We're going to be then moving on to our first quarter reports. So we've got 5 first quarter reports, and that's on the overtime, the fire, the public works, the water report, and the CBO report, and the MLEO report. So we've got actually 6 reports here, and we can go through them. I'll open them up if anybody has any questions on any of them. And then if we don't want to vote on any of them individually, then I will, I have a motion that will deal with all 6 at the same time. So I'm going to open it up, but first I'll go to you, Ian.
Yeah, I'd just like to, recognize staff on putting the reports together. First of all, the management of the overtime, it looks like it's been reduced for the first quarter in previous years, which is great. Obviously, Stephen does a great job always in his reports, and his outline of what the guys are working on is great. The MLEO report is definitely improved. Shows a lot more information, which is nice. And again, it's nice to see all the building starts for the first quarter in the township. I guess my only thing for the building one, I would love to see the new builds plotted on a map, so that just as a council, you could see where everybody's building and where the new builds are occurring, and just so you have an idea.
Okay, that's just a comment. I think we can pass that on to. I think we could pass that on to maybe our CBO.
I think we plot, I could be wrong here, but I think we plot those at the end of the year, all the new builds. But if you're looking for it quarterly, we can look at doing that as well.
Because I guess for myself, my own personal, it would just be nice to know where the new houses are going, and how it's affecting the roads and everything else, or may, affect the roads or anything else of that nature.
Yeah. It kind of looks like when you drive around, like we've got a lot of builds happening, but it looks like when you drive up and down the roads in Montague, it's hard to pinpoint like where one definite area is that's kind of exploding, because it seems like there's building on just about every road going forward. Claus, you had a question?
Yes. No, sorry. I just got back on. I've managed to get it figured out.
Jeff?
I mean, not to reiterate everything that Councillor Straight said, but I agree. I mean, I think it's MLA-LEO report is definitely gives a lot more information, and the building stats are, I mean, we said this last year. I said it last year. Like, we know this is the start of it, but I agree. I think that'd be cool to know where they are, because that's a big part of our plan, is understanding where these houses are being built. So we same as Councillor Straight just said. I agree with that. Like, it gives an idea. Is it building right? Is it building in the right place? Is it, and making sure that we're aware of the extra services that might be, to kind of give us that thought. So, yeah, but kudos to staff. I mean, the reports are looking good.
Okay, thank you, everybody. Then I have a motion moved by Ian Straight, second by Claus Van Meer, that the Committee of the Whole receive the first quarter report, and that the following be recommended to Council. That Council accept the first quarter reports as information. All in favor? Thank you. Okay, before we adjourn, well, we had no reports of committees and no petitions, no motions and notice of motions, no unfinished business. And before we do adjourn, sorry, Karen, I'm gonna
Yep.
I won't need your reminder this time, but thank you. So I'm gonna ask staff if we have any questions from the council, from the public.
No questions.
Nobody.
No, we do
Oh, we do.
have
Oh,
one.
Good.
Did the township bill for the fire department attending the 2 motor vehicle accidents, or were the accidents residents of the township?
Can you reread that, please?
Yes, I can. It comes from Tom May. Did the township bill for the fire department attending the 2 motor vehicle accidents, or were the accident residents of the township?
We just forward that to Miles, and Miles can.
Yeah.
I'm curious the answer to, but I mean, yeah, if we can. Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions then?
I don't see any, Christy.
I don't have any on my end.
Okay, thank you then, everybody. And thank you for the public for watching. We're going to, I have a motion now, then moved by Jeff Carroll and second by Kieran Jennings, that the Committee of the Whole do now adjourn at 8:16 p.m. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you. So the Committee of the Whole has now been adjourned. And can we go straight into our next part of the meeting?
Yeah.
Nobody needs a break? Okay, so I'm going to go to the next meeting, part of the meeting then. We had a motion that was moved by Karen Jennings and second by Jeff Carroll, that the council reconvene at 8:17 p.m. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Sorry about that, the papers are sticking together. So I also have a motion moved by Karen Jennings and seconded by Jeff Carroll, that this council moves into closed session as per S 239 of the Municipal Act, S0/2001, C25, in order to address 2 items. A, the security of the property of the municipality or local board, and 2 personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees. More specifically, personal matters about an individual security of property. All in favor? First of all, before I vote, did you have a question first, Karen?
No, I was just saying all in favor.
All in favor? Thank you. All in